It kind of just happened. It wasn't a conscious decision, but because I was just inflicted with a lot of pain and I didn't really have a vessel to channel it. So writing had became that for me. It wasn't intentional. It was just like my pain literally just turned into my passion.
Wow.
Yeah, and it worked. It worked because I did receive a lot of healing through it.
This is James Rosseau, a.k.a. Trig, and let me welcome you to the Corelink Solution Show. What's one thing you can share with people that most people don't know about Lyra C? Even your closest friends. I'm going to make it tougher. Your closest friends. What's one thing you can say that even they will say, I got to call her when she gets off that interview because I did not know that?
Okay. Well, one thing about me that a lot of people don't know actually is that I want to own a farm one day.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Where are you born and raised?
In Brooklyn, New York.
And what brings about farm aspirations?
I don't know. Like, I just always loved animals as a kid. Like, I always had like dreams and aspirations to be like a veterinarian. Like,
have you ever been on a farm?
I have.
Okay, and so you liked it.
Yes,
What did you enjoy most?
Just feeding the animals, being around them.
Any particular animals?
All of them.
Non-domesticated. You like that whole thing.
Everything.
God bless you.
All kinds.
I pray you get your
That's
farm.
one thing. And well, another thing that most people may or may not know is that I'm actually an author as well.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, so I wrote my first book a few years ago, and I should be releasing my second one soon.
Beautiful.
Called Prayers That Make Hell Nervous.
Beautiful.
And
Prayers That Make Hell Nervous. What's your pen name? As an author, what's your author name?
Charlene Langhorne.
I'm struggling with the Charlene.
I know.
So before we went on, y'all, I said to her, this whole thing she's doing here, right? This whole thing of being reserved and seemingly a little shy, if that's the right attribute. I saw none of that. It's the first time I saw it. So I said, I don't know what you're doing right now, but whatever it is, I'm not fooled. And so, but everybody, Jared All-Star, Lady Davina, and Euro said, "Oh no, that's her. That's the normal her." So then when you told me your name's Charlene, it's like, what are we talking about? I'm so lost.
I know.
I'm so lost. Okay, so back to Lyra C. Let's put the Batwoman suit on or whatever it is. No, but let's talk about the books for a second. What made you become an author as well?
Well, at the time, I think I had received a word that I was supposed to write a book. I always was a writer. I always enjoy writing. So at that time, I was like in an intercessory class and I was learning the art of intercession.
Okay.
And we had like homeworks to like write out prayers and things like that. So I would write out prayers, but then the Lord began to speak to me about adding my testimony to the book. So I started writing my testimony as a form of healing for me. And I attached the prayers that helped me overcome those moments in my life that I was struggling with. And then it all just kind of came together as a book called Prayers That Make Hell Nervous. And it wasn't just simple prayers. It was decrees. It was declarations. It was things that would help you go through, help usher deliverance for you as well and healing. So that's how that pretty much came
good.
about.
Well, I guess I can ask, since it's in a book, what were you trying to get over?
What I was trying to get over was a lot of things in my childhood. Growing up, not having a mother, and then also growing up with my father, who was a single father, doing the best he can, but still kind of like trying to navigate his own life. So I pretty much was on my own at the age of 14 years old, and I kind of just was in the streets, for a lack of better sense, and became gang affiliated, selling drugs, getting involved with just a lot of things that a normal 16-year-old girl wouldn't really technically be doing. But because I was raised by all men, I kind of had like a little bit of a mannerism that kind of kept me while I was out there. So just trying to get over a lot of childhood pain, rejection, traumas, just all of those things. And then as I even went throughout the course of my life, even in my adult age, just dabbling into new age spirituality, witchcraft, black magic, occultism, went all the way down the rabbit hole. And so it was a lot of things coming into Christ that I had to break off. So that book was just given the whole
thing.
Yeah.
Wow. You ever see the movie The Temptations?
No.
It's one of my favorite movies. Top 5 movies for me. One is Remember the Titans, Denzel Washington.
Okay.
But the Temptations movie, which goes through them coming together as a group, was one of my favorite movies. And one of my favorite parts in that movie is the second lead singer, I think it was, David Ruffin had left the group. This other guy comes in, and the producer writes this song for them, and he mentions his father, and the guy goes and says, he's so mad with the producer, man, how can you write that song? You know my father, da-da-da-da-da. And he said, I didn't know. He said, but that's okay, use it. Use that anger in the song.
Yeah.
Use all of that.
Yeah.
Is that true for you? Are you using that in your music?
Honestly, yes. Honestly, yes.
Is that a conscious decision, or does it just kind of happen?
It kind of just happened. It wasn't a conscious decision, but because I was just inflicted with a lot of pain, and I didn't really have a vessel to kind of like to channel it. So writing had became that for me. It wasn't intentional. It was just like my pain literally just turned into my passion. Wow. Yeah. So it, and it worked. It worked because I did receive a lot of healing through it.
I don't know about you, but I don't know about what anyone thinks. I think some of the best art and creative works, and even the professions people go into, are birthed from our points of pain. Yeah. When our pain is rechanneled into, and we understand the passion that comes with it, and Lord, if it's the purpose we've been given our gifts and talents for, it just flourishes. I mean, and speaking of flourishing, how long have you been doing Christian hip hop now? Speaking of flourishing.
I would say now like a year and a couple of months.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
This is crazy. So no many of y'all going, I don't know who Lyra C is. Well, that's why. Okay. Yes. 18 months. Yes. But I personally saw something that night and at the KCH stage when you ministered that made me say, oh, I need you to come. Yeah. I need you to come. There was something I saw that just was special to me. When you think about your creative process, as you've been learning and putting this stuff into motion, and maybe let's just talk about that. What made you do the first song? How did the first song come to be 18 so months ago?
Okay, so initially what happened was, although I got saved 5 years ago, I never was actually familiar with Christian hip hop. I never listened to Christian hip hop. Gotcha. I would listen to the regular CCH songs and things like that. Until one day, Richard Dolphin and his wife Eve had took me to the KCA pre-show. And that's when I first got exposed to Christian hip hop music. And I was like, oh, I like this. This is different, because I've always loved hip hop music, but I never knew that you could do it as a Christian.
And this was 3 years ago, maybe? 4 years ago?
I would say about three years ago.
Wow.
3 years ago.
Okay.
I think at that time, there was a few artists that was there that stood out to me. I think MTM Isaiah was one of the artists that stood out to me. But then after that, Hog Mob Dante went on. And it was just like something in me, something in my spirit clicked. It connected and said, I think I can do that. Like what he did, it was just like, I want to do that.
And you had not been rapping at all?
Not technically, no. Technically, no. I was playing around with some things, but never took it serious like I am now.
Writing poems?
Yes. I started out doing poetry, actually. So I started out writing poems, but never actually put like a beat to it. Always was interested. People always kind of like try to get me to do it, but it was never like something I was really going to do. Right. And even when I started writing, I started doing it as a hobby because I was in a place in my walk with God where I stopped praying. Like I didn't want to pray anymore. I was mad with God with a few things. Like I was kind of losing my faith. So I started writing prayers and then turning them into songs.
Was this before the book was published? Or the book was already out?
After.
After the book.
This was after the book.
Okay.
So none of the prayers that I have in my book are anything like my songs, but after the book, I stopped praying. I lost my fire and desire to want to pray. And God just pretty much started downloading a new way that I could communicate with him, and that was through music. And I would just tell God how I feel. Like, is it supposed to be this hard to be a Christian? And just talk to him about all of these things. And that's how the music started coming about.
Got it. Now, when Euro, your husband and manager, when did you two get married? When did you two come together? I'm trying to paste this whole picture together.
Yeah, we got married on July 4th last year.
Last year?
Yeah, so we're fairly newlyweds.
Congrats.
But we
Congrats.
but we have been courting for 5 years prior to
Courting
that.
for 5 years.
Okay.
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 And I see the intentionality of using the word courting
Yeah.
for 5 years.
Mhm.
Wow. There's some, I'll tell you what, there's some come together stories in the building today. Praise God.
Yes, we actually have a pretty interesting story. My first time ever being in a church was the church that I got saved in, and I gave my life to the Lord, and that had happened to be the church that my husband was in. But I never really paid attention to him. Really,
Right.
at first, I didn't really know who he was. But yeah, he was my pastor's son.
Gotcha. Are you blushing? I think she's blushing, bro.
Because that was a thing, like, the girl who married the PK. Yeah.
Was it like unrest, civil unrest in the church?
Yeah.
She got him, y'all.
Yeah,
She got
like
him.
that. Because my husband, he would never talk to nobody. He was very quiet, very reserved, very to himself. So then when I came around, they're like, oh, he's smiling.
And
he's
you came
talking.
around as Charlene, not Lyra C.
Correct.
Wow.
Correct. So how we first initially our first conversation was, I found out that he was a producer, that he was writing music. And then I was playing around with him. I was like, okay, so let's do a song together. And he was like, all right, bet. And like, let me get your Instagram. And I was like, okay.
Interesting.
Then I gave him my Instagram. Never did the song together until 4 years later.
Gotcha. After you got married.
After, yeah.
What was that? I mean, Euro's not here to. Well, Euro, stand up. Was that intentional? Did you hold back until y'all got married, or what? You could just say yes or no. Just give me a sign, yes or no, bro. We don't want an explanation. No explanations. Just, huh? Oh, he's coming in to intro Euro into the building.
Crash my interview.
This is what we can do on Holy Culture Radio. We can go ad hoc. Go ahead, tell your side, brother.
A little bit.
Uh-huh.
So let me tell my side.
Please.
So we introduced our song together, and she mentioned me like, she does a little song. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh, you do? And we started introducing. I said I was a beat maker because I've been making beats since young. Like I've been loving how to make beats. I learned how to do mixing. I went to college for it, so started doing it. So we chatted it up, and yeah, I think like it took so long. Like literally, I made an album too. It was a love album.
Oh, he did.
Called Trapped on Mars.
He made an album about me.
About her.
You made an album about her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a whole album.
A whole album.
Lord have mercy.
The dedication.
Let me just say this to brothers now. Y'all heard what Jared Allstar said earlier. 12 flights to California, one-way hostage ticket, bringing her to New York and whatnot. This brother, Jared's game is tight. This brother's creating albums about someone courting.
And that was literally my first album. Like I never
Brothers
did a
got to
song
get their
before.
games up, bro.
Yeah. I was like, yo, I got to get it because she's amazing. She was beautiful. I was like,
y'all setting new standards up in here.
So I had to hit a new standard. I'm like, no way, I never did before. And I sent her the song, and she couldn't believe it.
Wow.
I couldn't.
She was like, no, that wasn't you.
Wow.
I was like, yo, I'm serious.
Yeah, I didn't believe him.
But yeah, it was 4 years later. She did want to do the song. Actually, I was making a beat, and she just heard the beat. And I was supposed to send it to someone. She's like, no, I want that. I said, what? I got to send somebody. Yo, it's exclusive. Yeah. I got to make sure, he get his work. She's like, no, I want to get on that. Please. And she never rapped. I'm like, all right. And she got on it, killed it.
Yeah.
Killed it. Like,
that's dope.
Yeah.
Killed it.
That's dope.
And I'm not gonna lie, like my husband being my producer, I know sometimes people be hitting him up for beats, but if it's a fire beat, I'm gatekeeping. You ain't getting that beat.
Like,
listen,
make a new beat.
You ain't getting that beat.
I'm adding that to the Jared Sanders post about gatekeeping. I'm gatekeeping straight up. Okay, so
that beat.
Wow. So now fast forward to where you are now. The journey over those 18 months has been incredible. Like how are you thinking now about what you want to do as a CHH artist, minister, however you see yourself? What is it you want to achieve? What do you want to do?
If I could be quite honest, just because I've seen the effects of what my music and my ministry together has empowered the body of Christ. My goal is to continue to do that. It's to continue to tell my testimony through my music. It's to continue to lead souls to Christ through music, because sometimes people may never step foot in the church. This may be my only way to reach those people. So just using my music as an evangelistic tool to reach, those people who want people who's gonna relate to them. And to bring deliverance through my music. Letting people know what God did for me, he can do for you. How God set me free, he could set you free. How God healed me, he could heal you. Like a lot of people who I went to high school with, they know my testimony. They know how I was. A lot of them message me now and it's like, what happened? And I'm just like, it was nothing but God.
They're shocked to see you where you are now.
A lot of people, even my own best friend, we were doing a lot of stuff together, and she was just like, what has gotten into you? You're so different. And I was just like, I started going to church. I gave my life to God. I got baptized, and then she actually ended up giving her life to God as well. Just watching my life is a testimony in itself. So continuing to do that through music is my ultimate goal, so God can be glorified.
That's good. What do you want to do artistically, in terms of, are you going to do, kind of take the singles approach and do a lot of singles? Are you going to, you were leaving the building. Are you going to do the singles approach, do a lot of singles? Are you going to work on an album? How are you thinking about it?
So the goal is, that is the goal. The goal is to release 2 EPs this year.
Okay.
I want to work on one EP, which is releasing new music. And then the second EP is for Mental Health Awareness Month, because that is an area that I kind of want to touch on as well.
Nice.
So the goal is to release 2 EPs this year and then start getting some music videos.
So the one for Mental Health Awareness Month, is that, literally those songs focused on aspects of mental health?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Because that was one of the biggest things that I've dealt with prior to.
How so? Like, when you say dealing with it, what were you dealing with, if I can ask?
So as a child, I was quote unquote diagnosed as bipolar and schizophrenic initially. They tried to medicate me, but I never was like a person to take medication, so I didn't. So I dealt with a lot of that. I dealt with a lot of depression. I've dealt with a lot of like suicidal thoughts and things like that. So I feel like that all kind of ties together in why I have such a heart and a passion for mental health awareness. Because a lot of these things, a lot of people don't know is spiritual. And coming to Christ and receiving the deliverance and the healing that I need, it's like I'm not dealing with that depression anymore. I'm not dealing with what they would say is bipolar or schizophrenia or those suicide thoughts. I'm not dealing with it as I used to because, Jesus did set me free from it. So it's just one of those things that I kind of want to touch on in my music.
That's so good. One of the things that I appreciate about mental health is how challenging it is. I have someone in my family who wrestles with a diagnosis not too dissimilar from yours. And one of the things I remember reading is this book. It's a book written to families to help family members who are dealing with mental health. And in the opening of the book, one of the things he says, as a medical professional, I will say to our medical community, in decades in the future, we will look back and find ourselves as being irresponsible.
Yeah.
With the way we handled this, right?
Yeah.
And so when I read that, I didn't know what to make of it. And then as I started thinking about some experiences of trying different medication combinations at different times, and almost like in a test and learn way, what made you reject medication?
I think, well, to be quite honest, it had to do a lot with my father. Like, my father was very, like, he has a Trinidadian background, so when we would get sick, it was just, drink some tea, you'll be all right.
Come on,
like,
girl, you'll be all right.
Yeah, he's like, just drink some tea, you'll be all right. Like, he was real, tough in that way. So anytime we were sick or anything like that, he never let us take medicine. He never did it. It was just drink some tea. So just initially growing up, I never had that take medicine mentality. So when it came down to taking it, even to this day, I've always rejected just medicine in general. I'll try to find more of a holistic way to deal with an issue. But again, I think for me, it was a lot more spiritual than anything else.
What was the moment like when that epiphany happened for you, that you felt like, oh, this is not just a psychological thing. It's not just a quote unquote chemical imbalance. It's not. This is spiritual, and I can overcome with Jesus. What brought you to that point?
Well, to be honest, it was the counsel that I had. You know, my husband, he's a part of a deliverance ministry. We were part of a deliverance ministry. So they deal with those things all of the time. And I've realized that a lot of it, you know, dealing with understanding how the demonic works on both ends of the spectrum for me, I knew that it had to be more spiritual than anything else.
Gotcha.
And then as I walked through the process of deliverance and through the process of healing, the fruit showed as
Gotcha.
it began to break off of my life.
Gotcha. You know, one of the things I remember from that night, so you think you got bars, is Jared All-Star on the sideline rooting for you. I remember that distinctly.
Yeah.
You know, as a person who's grown up with a kid and watching your son play football and being the maniac who runs along the stands when your son is running with the ball, I recognize that behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah, I recognize that behavior. I identify with that behavior. Not that saying he was a maniac because he's so approachable and whatnot, but what brought you to that relationship with him and being on Humble Brag Music?
First of all, Jared All-Star and Davina, they're just dope, just like overall. But it was that one time I seen them perform.
Where
and I
at?
was like, we're at,
Set the
remind
scene.
me.
Where were you guys
Where
at?
were we?
KCA's.
Was it?
Kingdom Choice Awards?
Was it the KCAs?
So it must have been, was it 2022, 2023? On
the
Broadway or before
KCAs?
Broadway's?
What song you did? Right.
Right. All right.
That's what it was. Forgive me.
So what was
the
it?
Lord's working on my memory.
That's okay.
So it was at the KCAs and they was performing Reloaded, and I was just like, oh my God. But it was something about I think even before that, Conquest had released a video, and his verse on Conquest song, John Wick 4, I was just like, here's what stood out to me in the video.
Go ahead. You can say it in the video. Shout out to Conquest while she's gathering herself.
Shout out to Conquest, because Conquest did have a lot to do with putting me on as well. So shout out to Conquest. But everybody else in the video, they had guns. Like, you know, I don't know however they did that. But Jared was the only one who had a sword. And that stuck out to me, because one thing about me is, you're going to notice about me, I take the Lord very seriously.
Yeah,
I take my walk very seriously. So that stood out to me, because that's what I'm looking
Did he
for.
have one of the dashiki in that one?
I think he had a suit on.
Oh, he had a suit on.
He
okay.
had a suit on with the sword. And I was just like, okay, something about him is different. And his verse was fire.
Of
I was
course.
like, okay, something.
Of
Then
course.
when I seen them perform Reloaded, I was like, it was just something about him that stood out to me from the rest. Like, he was so set apart.
Yeah.
And
That's good.
I felt like a lot of similarities in how I wanted to approach Christian hip hop when I seen him. So that's when I reached out to him and I said, hey, you know, I would really love if you can mentor me. And immediately
That's
he was
good.
just like, yeah, without a doubt, let's do this. And ever since then, like day one, him and Davina has been riding with me nonstop. And as So You Think You Got Bars, he knew for me it was hard because I did not want to do it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do So You Think You Got Bars to begin with. I didn't like the idea of a competition.
You would never know that.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I did not like nothing about it.
Well, you would never know it once
And
Lyra C showed up. Maybe Charlene didn't like it.
Charlene didn't like
But
it.
Lyra C loved it.
Lyra C was up for the challenge.
Yeah.
But Charlene was like, I don't want to do it. And every single day I was calling Jared and Davina like, nope, I'm out. I'm not
Really?
doing it. I did.
And they convinced you
And
otherwise?
they was like, yeah, no, you don't have a choice. Let's go. Let's
Wow.
get it.
That's what, I love
Let's get it.
mentors like that.
Yeah.
Air horns.
They did not let me back out at all. So I'm pretty sure that's
love
why
that.
on the sideline he was just like,
I love that.
you know, because it was a press. It was a
Yeah.
press.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So, so you're on Humble Brag Music. Let me ask you this: what's it been like so far connecting with other women in Christian hip hop, if you have?
I don't think I have yet.
Okay.
It's definitely been in conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think I have yet.
Is there a reason why not?
Not in particular.
Okay.
There's definitely some artists that I want to work with, like Kilonda. I definitely want to work with her. I think she's dope. I need a record with Lady Davina. Okay.
That should be in the pocket. That should be done. I
right?
mean,
I need a record with her.
That's home base.
You know, but just because I'm still like trying to get, the logistics in order.
Yes.
Then once after that, we're definitely going to work on those collaborations.
So as you work on these 2 upcoming EPs,
Mm-hmm.
do you see some of the collaborations coming to life on that?
Oh, absolutely.
Who, if you had to name 5 women, let's make it shorter, 3.
Okay.
3 CHH women artists.
Ooh.
Are there 3 that come to mind that you would love to see on the projects?
Oh, word. Mighty Love.
Mm-hmm.
Mighty Love.
Mhm.
That's my girl. I love her. So definitely Mighty Love. Definitely Kilonda. Kilonda's super dope. I would even go as far as saying Angie Rose.
I didn't want to leave the witness.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I was thinking Angie
I
Rose
would go as
because
far
of the
to say
topics.
Angie.
I was thinking Angie Rose
Yeah,
because
I
I didn't want to say
there's
anything
a lot
though.
of similarities.
I didn't want to say anything.
We can
There
collab
it is.
Yeah.
Rose.
Yes,
There
I
it
would definitely
is.
say Angie Rose.
There it is.
She's dope. She's amazing.
Have you met Angie?
I have one
Okay.
time at the KCAs.
You should reach out.
Yeah.
Her the work she's doing, Lifeline,
Yeah.
and the project, the last immediate album, just so dope and so I know it's an overused word, but so authentic and transparent in terms of her journey and sharing it and
Yeah.
like you said, the pain and the healing,
Yeah.
really good. Dope. So let me ask you this. If you think about, like, let's call it 2027, let's look out 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to be able to say about your ministry in terms of some of the things you've done? What do you want to look back, January 1, 2027, what do you want to look back and say, 2025 and 2026 were good years because fill in the blank?
I stayed true to myself.
Because
I stayed true to myself and I remained obedient to God.
That's good.
Because God is my witness. There's a lot of the times that I'm just like, God, I don't want to do this. This is too hard.
What makes you feel like it's too hard sometimes? What is that? Is it the process of snatching tracks from Euro? Is it what makes it what makes it so hard?
Because truthfully, like a lot of the times I just kind of want to just stay to myself. Like I have that want to stay in my shell, but it's like God is always like pushing me out there. So sometimes like that's like a struggle to come into agreement with.
It takes you out of your comfort zone.
Yeah,
your natural
like
comfort zone.
it takes me out of my natural comfort zone. And I know a lot of people wouldn't believe it, just seeing how sometimes I be moving and shaking. But the truth of the matter is that's God. I feel like God gives me the power and the anointing to do that because of my obedience.
Yeah.
Not because that is truly something that I want to do. But my whole thing is just remaining true to myself, just continuing to keep the music about the Lord.
Yeah.
Keeping it about what glorifies him, keeping it about what will please God.
Yeah.
Like, because that's the only reason why I do it. I only do it to please God. I only do it to make him happy. I don't do it for any other reason. I don't care for the accolades. I don't care to be seen, to be heard. I ask God all the time, move me out the way so they can see you. So if I want them to see God through me, if they've never walked in a church, at least they can see God through me. And that's my mission. And if I don't do that, then I have accomplished nothing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know how this is going to land on you, but the more you keep that posture, the more God's going to use you.
Right.
Right? He needs people who are focused on his glory.
That's it.
No matter how great your gift and talent is, it's given for utility for his glory.
Absolutely.
And as long as you keep that posture, he's going to continue to elevate you. So I hope that's good news for you, depending on who I'm talking to right now, Charlene or Lyra C. You know what I mean? So you're gonna have to accept that. Have you ever taken a personality profile, like a Myers-Briggs, a Hogan?
I have.
What have you taken?
I've taken a Myers-Briggs, I believe.
Where you come out? Do you remember?
Introvert, extrovert.
I
think I was both.
Well, you can't be both.
Yes, you can.
Well, you could be on the line.
There's a name for both.
Oh, you're right. You're exactly right.
Yeah, I forget the
You're
name
exactly
of it, but I
right.
came out
That's
both.
right. I
I'm
remember. That's
introverted
right.
and extroverted.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Which means it's situational.
Yeah, it's situational.
Yeah.
Like there's times where I could really just come alive and be super outgoing, but I have a meter. Like when my meter is done, it's like, all right, that's enough.
You're exhausted afterwards.
Yeah.
I'm I'm an INTJ, so I'm an introvert, and I used to be like way out, and then I came closer to the middle. And my coach told me I was kind of like I'm an I1, but my coach said, well, a lot of that movement is because you were in leadership roles, leading teams and whatnot. So you have to be more extroverted,
Right.
but it will exhaust you, right? And so because you're a natural I, so it feels like we have that in common.
Yeah.
You remember? Do you remember the rest of your?
No, I
don't?
don't.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't remember.
Was
too
it a long
much
time
of it.
ago?
Yeah, it was a while ago. But
Okay.
I remember, my therapist at the time, I forgot who it was, but my therapist at the time, she recommended for me to do it, and I did.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's
so
good.
there are some times where I have to go into hiding, recharge,
Mm-hmm.
and then come back out, and that can, I guess, sometimes affect my consistency a little bit, but it's necessary for me. It's necessary because I can't pour out from an empty cup.
Right.
I need the Lord to fill me back up so that I could go in and minister effectively.
Yeah.
Because I can easily become burnt out, and I don't want to. And I don't want to move just aimlessly without a purpose behind it.
Absolutely.
Like one thing about me is I'm very intentional when it comes to my ministry and anything that I do. And if I don't feel God behind it, I won't do it.
That's good.
I won't. So I do need those moments to
recharge.
fill back up,
Recharge.
and then let's go.
So you have fresh perspectives too, being 18 months in. I'm curious as a person who I love thinking about our ecosystem, right? And CHH and what we all do, what we're doing, how we're growing, not just Holy Culture, but just in general, our whole ecosystem, right? Because I'm just a fan of rising tide lifts all boats, and we need more rising tide, right? What have been your observations so far? Like what's working really well in our space?
Jazz messing with me.
I see.
Because this question,
Pull the microphone a little closer, please. We don't want to miss anything.
Can you be a little more specific?
Well, let's do this. Let's do the typical year end when you sit for your performance appraisal. What do we always do? Your 3 accomplishments and strengths. Your 3, maybe disappointments and opportunities. Right. Let's start with 3 strengths. What are 3 things you see that are really strong about the CHH ecosystem? Layup, Holy Culture Radio. I mean, I don't know.
Oh yeah. Most definitely, Holy Culture Radio. What you're doing?
Layup. I'm just trying to give you one since you're stuck.
Because truth be told, I'm still really learning a lot about the culture.
Okay.
So being so new to it, I have a lot more research to do if I can be honest. But definitely Holy Culture Radio.
I'm just playing. You don't have to list that one. I'm just trying to.
But it's true though, because this is a platform that you use to help other people be able to push their music. So of course that's dope. And just everybody else who's creating labels with authentic artists to help them get the mission of God done, like whatever they're doing. Again, I don't really know too much about the culture as I should because I'm still learning, but yeah.
What are some of the opportunities that you see?
And
where you're an administrator by day, right?
Yeah.
So administrate CHH, like the same way you approach your job in terms of, man, I got to make sure things are efficient. I have to make sure they're effective. I have to make sure they have efficacy. I have to make sure it's sustainable. Like when you look at our space, why are you laughing? What do you think some of the opportunities are? You want to punt? You want to punt?
Yeah, because you know why? To be honest, even though like at my job and stuff, I have an administrative role. When it comes to Christian hip hop, I don't do nothing. My husband do everything.
Okay.
I really don't. Like I just solely focus on creating.
That's a blessing.
Yeah, like my husband really takes everything
and then Humble
off
Brag
of me.
helps
and then
with the
Humble
other parts
Brag
of it.
helps as well with the management aspect. So between them and my husband, they give me the space to just create.
Let me tell you something. Not many people can say that.
Yeah.
So you are in a blessed space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I said. So when you say that, I'm just like, I don't know, because they do everything for me.
Yeah. No, you are in a blessed space.
Yeah.
That's good. When you look at kind of where we are right now, let's put political stuff to the side. But culturally, when you look at where we are and you think about your ministry and where you want to apply focus, what are things that you see in your culture right now that you feel a burden for? You feel like, man, this is a place I want to apply my voice. These are things I want to apply. Mental health obviously is one of them.
Yeah.
Are there any other things that pop out for you?
Mental health and anything that's dealing with like occultism, witchcraft, like really going into the secular arena and changing the trajectory of it. Now, I don't know how it's just a vision that I have, but just really, just seeing a lot of secular artists convert, which we're actually seeing now.
Right.
We're seeing a lot more secular artists who's wanting to collaborate with a Christian artist, and whatever their motive is their motive. But at the end of the day, it's really to see a true conversion.
But you want to see more of that. You want to see more shaking up in that secular space.
Right.
Yeah.
Just a lot more of that. Because I feel like the enemy had his hand on that space a little bit too long. And
come on now.
the God that I know, that he can come in and he can rattle some.
Come on
so
now.
I kind of want to come in that space, rattle some fences, shake some stuff up.
I'm about to tell Max to put on that. You know what I mean? I feel like there's a sermon coming in.
Yeah, like I want to shake some stuff up in that space because, to God be the glory. He's going to be glorified when it comes to music.
That's good.
So that's a space that I really want to go into. Of course, mental health awareness. And just really targeting women who've been rejected, dealing with abuse. Like, so there's so many areas that that I've been through that I really want to help usher people into. Yeah. In that space. So yeah.
The cult piece in secular hip hop. From your observations, is it very prevalent in secular hip hop? Cultism?
In what sense?
Well, you identified that, and I didn't know if it was predominantly from self-lived experience and what you went. That's where it's coming from.
Yeah,
mostly that.
It's mainly coming from that because even though I wasn't doing music in the secular world, I was surrounded by secular artists. So I seen a lot of the ins and outs and the things that people were willing to do and how far they were willing to go just for the money, just for the fame. And from the outside looking in now as a Christian, it's just like, well, what does it profit you to gain the whole world but lose your soul? Yeah. And kind of just bringing back the understanding that your soul is worth more than anything. Because the one thing that I've experienced with the enemy when I've partnered with him myself was he will turn on you. Yeah. There will be a day where he will show his back to you, but God never did that and he never will. Right. So yes, for me, it's just like understanding that. That's good. Like, yeah, you may have the fame now, the money now, the power now, but that's all going to come crashing down. Like God, he remains the same forever. His word remains the same. And just helping people understand that that's what's truly important. Yeah.
There's somebody watching right now who is saying, man, I need to follow some of that path and step into some of those footprints behind Lyra C. What would your real advice be to someone who's starting and they believe that God has called them to do ministry through Christian hip hop? What would your advice be?
Just as Jared said, make sure you're called to do it.
Right.
But aside from that, just keeping God first, seek first the kingdom of God and all his righteousness and all things will be added unto you. So continue to keep God first. Let him be the center of all that you do. Let him take control of your ministry and just be obedient to how he wants to use you. And don't worry about what people say or how they feel when it comes to how your music may sound. Just remain obedient. Yeah. Like a lot of people, I feel like sometimes they want to see me be a certain type of artist, but my ministry and my music is going to be very ministry based, and it's going to share a lot of my testimony because this is the lane that God had put me in specifically to reach who I need to reach. Yeah. So I don't care about trying to make people dance around, and I don't care about all of that because if it doesn't move you or lead you to the cross, then it doesn't even matter. So just stay in your lane. Do what God told you to do. Remain obedient in that, and don't worry about trying to fit in to the culture. Just be you.
That's good. That's good. The 2 projects that are coming, let's give some anticipated dates so we can give people something to look forward to.
So I think Mental Health Awareness Month is in the month of March, if I'm not mistaken. So we definitely want to push some singles out for March, and then release the project at a later date, which I have to consult with my managers about.
Everyone's here. Can I get a date? I mean, it's not like they're not accessible. They're accessible right now. You guys can bitch for a second and come. You got 30 seconds. Give us a date.
You got 30 seconds.
You got 30 seconds.
Jared.
Y'all talk. Euro, Jared, and okay.
Right?
While they get
Consult
that,
my team.
so while they get that, tell people where they can reach you if they want to get in contact with Lyra C.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Spring and summer.
Spring and summer.
You see that right there?
Sounds
You see what
good.
happened right there?
Yeah.
Spring and summer. That's a good way to avoid a specific date. I love that.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Because they're working hard. You know, I'm not always the easiest. They got their hands full with me.
I like that. That was very good. Jared is such a professional.
Yes,
This
he is.
brother, I tell you. Yeah.
But yeah, so on Instagram you could definitely find me at IamLyra.c. On YouTube at Lyra C. See this? I gotta do better with
Let's go
this
to your
first
Instagram.
name.
Tell them. Let's send it to your Instagram.
IamLyra.c.
That's what's up.
That's my
Send them
Instagram.
there. And y'all
Yeah.
stay tuned for these projects.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Hey, y'all. This has been another episode of the Corelink Solution. Again,
Yes.
Lyra C in the building. And keep it locked right here.